I would say that the top 3 European comics non-Europeans would know are Tintin, Asterix, and maybe Lucky Luke. Of the 3, Tintin's the closest to The Extraordinary Adventures of Adele Blanc by Jacques Tardy. Adele is something of a female detective embroiled in bizarre adventures. Not a traditional Philip Marlowe type detective, but she's more of a globe-trotting adventurer who unravels seemingly supernatural mysteries, often involving a monster coming back to life. There's also a steampunk aesthetic as well, with technologies out of reach in the historical era that the stories take place in. Tardy authored almost 10 volumes of her adventures at the time of filming this. About half have been translated into English, and while the books take place before and after World War I, they were created starting in 1976, and a live-action adaptation was released in 2010, directed by Luc Besson. So that's the subject of today's episode of Graphic Adaptations, the extraordinary adaptation of ADELE BLANC. Now, the books that we have to look at today are from Fantagraphics, both hardcovers and each combining 2 albums into one book. So these 2 cover the first 4 albums: Terror in Paris, The Eiffel Tower Demon, The Mad Scientist, and Mummies on Parade. There were plans to put out more in this format, translated in English, but it's been some years with no word on a 3rd book. Tardy's style combines realistic backgrounds and objects with exaggerated faces like a caricature artist might render. And to match that, prosthetics were applied to actors, but mostly immaculate casting, and even more immaculate mustaches and hats. The costume department were also at an inspired genius level for this movie. The script was deliberately changed from the graphic novel to have a little bit more charm and warmth, and also to focus more on the fantastic adventures rather than some of the politics and lengthy exposition scenes. The book can be pretty exposition heavy at times. Focus was clearly set on retaining the quirkiness and the adventurousness while keeping it cinematic. The graphic novel's a little less welcoming than the movie, being less cute and more cynical, especially in the character of Adele herself, who is warmer in the movie while being more prickly on the page, evoking the more traditional archetypes seen in the Miss Marple or Miss Fisher's murder mysteries. Adele herself is all business and quite serious, especially in the books. She's highly intelligent, a master of disguise, and is less of a skeptic than her contemporaries in the genre. Unlike many other European comics like Asterix or Tintin, who collect mostly self-contained stories in their albums, ADELE BLANC has an overlapping story that carries forward events from previous volumes, so reading them in order is a good idea. Let's take a look at a few scenes that are shown in the book and movie to see how they compare to one another. The main character likenesses, as mentioned before, are uncanny and exemplary, but entire scenes also get lifted right off the page to great effect. We could start with the opening, with the drunk guy, which is a scene I think taken from the 2nd volume. The pterodactyl hatching in the museum and the attacks are like dead on. The carriage over the bridge pterodactyl attack is only a brief few panels on one page in the book, which Besson must fill in with extra business, context, additional shots to enhance the drama, but it's also just picture perfect what you'd want. And the mummy is a character from the 3rd volume, and not used in the same way as in this book, but there is also no mention of her sister here. And I haven't read the other 6 untranslated volumes, and since the stories overlap, it's not impossible that those stories show up later.
Sorry about the glass.
Forget it. No bother.
And of course, there are the little touches that Luc Besson brings with him, like Aziz here.
Aziz, how many hours ride to the rendezvous?
Aziz, light!
Besson wrote the script as well, and he pretty much remixed events from a few different films. Had the work been any closer to the source material, I think it wouldn't have been as much fun of a movie. I think this adaptation is one of my favorite of the European comics that got the live-action treatment. I wish there had been a sequel, but if you feel the same way, I have a pretty great consolation prize for you. April and the Extraordinary World from 2015. Not actually a sequel in any way, there was this great animated film in 2015 called April and the Extraordinary World, and it's something of a sister or a cousin to Adele. The character designs were all by Tardy, and Adele was the most obvious influence or inspiration for the movie.
Que Avril a le profil d'Adèle, c'est la petite sœur d'Adèle Blanc. Bon. Donc elle a été dessinée. Est-ce que dès le départ, elle avait ce physique-là? Je me souviens plus, je me souviens pas de ça. Mais bon, de toute façon, c'est devenu ce personnage. Après, il est passé entre les mains des animateurs qui ont repris le dessin, qui l'ont simplifié.
Occupying a sort of steampunk aesthetic itself, even more so than Adele, and similar themes as Sky Captain: The World of Tomorrow, Adele is trying to recreate her parents' formula as agents of chaos try to capture her. Her best friend is a talking cat, and the story becomes quite broad and grand. I'm looking for a word that isn't epic. Extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And I say Sky Captain, I just mean a little bit more in that retro-futuristic punk kind of look that it's got. I would highly suggest this film to fans of Miyazaki. This is like a French Studio Ghibli film. There's a softer charm and warmth and intimacy in April, while Adele is more quippy, quirky, and edgy. So there you have it. 2 movies and a graphic novel to check out if you are at all interested in more of ADELE BLANC. And hey, if you're commenting or liking the video, do not think that I don't notice. I absolutely do, and I want to thank you now for doing so. Stick around and watch another video. There's probably one on screen, like right here or here. Usually they're up here. They could be down here though, but up here. And you can click on that to watch them. I'll see you guys next time.